Welcome to the NemoVote Podcast. I'm Aaron, the COO of NemoVote, and today's topic is how to run a successful public tender with the real story from what I just learned is pronounced GO underwears in Belgium with my guest Isabel. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, obviously I'm going to do that because I think it's very interesting to learn from you on what you've done with your past tender. So maybe you can introduce very shortly GO and the context of the digital voting project we're going to talk about.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Isabel, like you already said. I'm the legal advisor for GO. Full name, GO Education of the Flemish Community. And basically what GO is, it's a body of the Flemish government. And we organize the official education in all of the Dutch-speaking parts in Belgium. We offer education in primary schools, secondary schools, also adult education and part-time art education. And we are divided up into 26 school groups. And each school group is responsible for the education policies of the schools within their region. So they have a big responsibility, and each school group has a board of directors. And the boards of directors are democratically elected, which is why we ended up working together to look at how we can organize those elections digitally.
And I think in total it's like over 700 schools, right? Like it's a lot of schools. It's a
Yeah.
huge school network.
And also we not only have schools, we also have other kinds of institutions that do not vote for the board of directors. In total, we have around 1,000 schools and institutions, more than 340,000 pupils, trainees. So big responsibility, big privilege, of course. But yeah, for the elections, it's around 700 to 800 schools that we're talking about that get to vote.
In the past, you of course already voted before, but you didn't do it digitally, right?
No, it was all manually. So we had the paper voting ballots. Every general director of the school group, so 26 of them, had to come together and count the votes manually, which was, of course, time consuming, not super efficient. Because also the school groups, we have like really small ones, but also really big ones. So for the bigger school groups with like 50 plus schools, it took quite a long time to organize everything manually. So yeah.
I think digital voting seems like a very natural fit for like such a huge school group. I know when we had our first talks, the first thing I thought about the tender was like, this is the most structural, organized tender I've ever seen before. You probably had a lot of homework to do before you even started the tender, right?
Definitely. It wasn't easy because it was also one of the first times I did this. We have other legal advisors at GO who had done it before, so I could go to them to hear what the first steps are, how I should approach it and everything. So that was helpful. But yeah, a tender procedure it's not the easiest procedure. You have to really make sure you follow all of the legal requirements. I do not want to be the person who, looking back, made a mistake, which kind of then influences the rest of the process. So yeah, but luckily when we were looking at the estimated cost for the project, we did fall under a certain threshold. So we were able to follow kind of the rules for a public contract of limited value. So there was some more flexibility than other projects with a higher threshold would have to follow. But still, lots of homework that I needed to do to make sure I did everything right.
So when you knew you would be responsible for the project, like how did you start the project? What have been your first steps? You just mentioned talking to like other people inside the organization?
Yeah, I think the very first step, we started like a working group or like project group. So we had kind of this joint effort in the beginning to really get it started. It was me, of course. I coordinated the project, but we had our own business analyst from our IT department. So that was someone who carried out the whole needs analysis. We also had colleagues, like I just said, who also have experience, not only with the tender procedure, but also the colleagues that really had the experience with organizing elections in the past. So they were able to really look at what do we have now and where do we want to go, which is super important, of course, because you need to know what you're looking for and what you need before you actually start looking. We have also a IT program manager, which is kind of the person that made sure that we stayed within the lines budget wise and also timeline wise, which is great. So anytime there was like kind of a blockage in time, in budget, he would kind of hold up the flag and get us back to the right direction. So really joint efforts for all of these people to get to where we are now. Yeah, that was how we started and how we kind of went through with it.
So you first structured yourself internally, and then probably one of the next steps was to have a little market research. So how did you research the market?
We basically, so when we had finished the needs analysis, so we knew what we needed, what we were looking for, and we had also all of the requirements listed up, so the functionals, non-functionals, then we did go explore the market, of course. We used kind of the classic sources online, looking for a potential partner, mainly also looking at kind of similar, more governmental bodies also that also used digital election tools already, because, it's just, they're similarly structured. They have similar regulations also. So that was kind of the first thing that we looked at. It was challenging though at some points, because of course we have our own regulations that we follow. And
the
they're
so-called reglement, right?
Ja, kiesreglement. Nice. Yeah, the kiesreglement, exactly. We have to follow that, of course. And it's a quite strict one, which is fair. Honestly, you want a safe, fair voting environment. That meant that we couldn't just copy paste what other governmental bodies were using. So in the end, looking online mostly and comparing, I think we had a total of around 7 or 8 companies that at first glance, it seemed like they were maybe offering what we were looking for. So that's how we got to that first initial list of 7 companies, including NemoVote. So yeah, that was the first step.
So you probably then talked to them, or did you have like I mean, I know you talked to us, but like, what did you then do after you saw like those the 7 companies that could potentially be a solution for GO?
Yeah, so we did contact all 7 via email because of the procedure we fell under. Everything could go via email, which was very efficient. In the first round of just emailing, we were actually already able to kind of drop 2 of them, because by talking to them, you just realize like a certain must-have requirement for us is missing. For example, one of them seemed to have, like at first glance, everything that we needed requirement wise, but then when we emailed a bit back and forth, it actually turned out that they didn't offer a Dutch platform, which is of course super crucial. And it's one of those things that you just sometimes assume or don't even think of asking because it just seems so evident in your mind. But those sort of things meant that we, in the emailing phase, were already excluding then 2 of those 7. And then with the 5 remaining, we talked to them basically. So that was the 5 companies, also including you, of course, that we ended up really having a conversation with.
Okay, so then you had a conversation with them, and the funnel of the organizations then you expected to be part of the tender then stayed at those 5, or you were able to even get a smaller funnel afterwards?
We went even smaller. So after those talks, we narrowed it down to 3, which is also the legal minimum of suppliers that we needed to invite to split. During those conversations, we're able to see kind of a demo of their platform, and that also gave an idea of, oh, this will not be like user friendly for our company. So we ended up inviting 3.
I mean, the most important part about that one was probably that you already had the requirement list, and you knew what you had to have as a platform, what were really must-haves and what weren't. And I think that's probably the most crucial part. What do you expect? How long was?
Yeah, I would say like around 3 months with also actually before that, at least a month of preparation with looking at the reglement and analyzing it. So all in all, yeah, like 3-4 months of really focusing on that, which seems super long. Of course, I also have other things that I do in my job. This is one of my projects, so it makes sense that it's maybe like 3 to 4 months.
I mean, also that was just only one part of the tender, right? We also worked together afterwards for your elections that are starting in November this year.
Oh yeah, in November the actual voting. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you started even like more than 1 year earlier. So you've been planning a lot of time for that.
Yeah, and also even before that, it was actually in the summer of 2023, so 2 years ago, when it was first brought up again, like, oh, maybe because we had tried it in the past to digitalize. And then summer of 2023, 2 years ago, it was again like kind of brought up. Should we get a project team back together? So all in all, for now, we've been kind of working on it, talking about it for 2 years already. So I'm super excited to finally get into it in November.
I mean, so am I. Now, regarding the tender, when you've been ready to actually publish the tender, like how was that process? I know you had some regulations on where to publish it, right?
Actually, no, because it was under that threshold, we didn't have to publish it publicly. We were able to just send the invitation directly to the suppliers that we wanted to invite. So we did not have the requirement of publicly publishing it. Yeah, which was great actually, because you can just work quicker and more flexible. Yeah, it was by email even that we could invite you guys to bid.
You had like selection criteria. You had like um, uh, weighted. I think it was about up to 100 points on where you could be on a scale. Like, how did you decide for that selection criteria?
Yeah, so that was also very open regarding the legal requirements. We were fairly like free to choose what selection criteria we wanted to use and how many points we wanted to assign to each one. What we did was, of course, I feel like that's usually the case, that the quality of the product is the most important part. So the majority of the points we assigned to quality of the proposal, and then a bit less, I think around 35, 40 to price, to the cost. And then also we had like 15 points left that we assigned to the plan of action that was proposed by the supplier. We asked each of the 3 suppliers to hand in a few documents, an overview of the requirements, and if they can fit the requirements, some references, a plan of action with a timeline and the support that would be given, the cost, of course, an overview of the costs. And then we compared all of those documents and then, like you said, assigned the points for each. Just awarded the points for each criteria after comparing, and then totaled it up, and you guys at NemoVote ended with the highest score. So automatically, of course, we awarded then the contract to you guys.
I mean, I remember when we won that, we celebrated a lot.
Really?
I remember, yeah, we put a lot of work and a lot of effort into it,
Yeah.
and we really had the goal to win it. It was a lot of fun to also work with you. So I knew when we were going to win that project, we're going to probably also have a lot of fun together. So we really took a lot of effort for that, and I still am celebrating day to day that we won that.
Oh, I'm really glad. I'm super happy that we get to work together too. I agree that it's important to have like a bit of fun also, because we have to like meet up so often. During the school year, we met up almost weekly, I think. Yeah, so I guess it's important that that's something you kind of look forward to. So I'm really glad with how it all worked out.
I read in preparation to this episode that one of the most important parts of the tendering process is staying open to innovation. And I thought that was very interesting, because what you did is you've had that must-have list, but you've also been open for us to actually take time to develop that. For you, it wasn't important for you to have it on the day of the tender. So I think that was like also for us quite a learning that worked actually, and we stayed in timeline. So
Yeah.
also for that, not only us, but also for you, you stayed in timeline, which made a lot of sense in hindsight because you had that very well structured RFP. But also for us, staying in timeline was very important there.
Yeah, which we really appreciated also because, things pop up along the way, things you didn't really anticipate for. And I think it's really important, and it was super helpful to just be able to call quickly and discuss it. And you guys were super flexible getting each other on the call and seeing what we could do in a kind of limited timeline. So yeah, I think the flexibility on both parts was necessary, but was also, it was nice to work that way.
Definitely part of the success after all, I think. So maybe to come to an end, what advice would you give to other governmental organizations, but others organizations after all planning a tender?
So I thought about this beforehand when I was reflecting. I think my main advice, we talked about it already, but it's the needs analysis, so the requirements list. I think really taking your time there is so important. It's the basis for everything. It's a document you keep coming back to, and it basically has everything that you're looking for, that you want to deliver in an end product to your client or whoever. So, if that isn't complete and really well thought through, you're going to have an issue. So yeah, I think that would be my main advice. Also to myself, even looking back, I think I could have even given more time to the needs analysis and requirement list.
Because you simply have also fun on that.
Yeah, it is kind of fun. It can be super frustrating, and sometimes you can't really you lose yourself in the chaos of all of those requirements listed up. But it is kind of fun also, yeah. Also, one other thing that I was thinking was specifically with the tender procedure. I think it was really good that with GO we followed the legal requirements, but we went a little bit further. Certain steps were not strictly necessary. Mm-hmm. And it took extra time and extra energy, but I'm super glad that we did that because it really makes sure you have this basis for a really well informed decision, which I think this project definitely deserved. So many people will end up depending on it. So yeah, I think that will be it.
I mean, one more thing that I would like to add, just from a vendor perspective, we had that very well structured RFP where we knew what was important for you to have as a product, but also for us to understand how, especially a voting process is kind of complex with all those stakeholders. And I remember that we put up that PDF file where we had a look into who is going to talk to who on which point of the process.
Yeah.
With all those stakeholders.
Yeah.
So first it was it was very interesting because I've seen a lot of tenders where you would talk to a very differently kind of setup of a tender than in the end, which in this case wasn't the case after all. And also for me to understand what do you need and who are we gonna talk to in the whole process.
Yeah.
And also to have that joint understanding of what's gonna happen during that voting process. It was fun, it was especially efficient, and it was transparent on how we are gonna work together.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that's also mostly credits to our amazing needs analyst, Wim, because I feel the same way. I feel that kind of graph was also something he printed it out in a poster format. It's so important to be able to visualize the whole process, right? Make sure that everything can be translated to the digital platform. And I'm glad to hear that it was helpful for you guys too.
Yeah, there was definitely a knowledge transfer process happening on what do you need and how could we integrate that in NemoVote and how could that work together. And we also, I think we had to change a bit of that, but in the end, it worked out well for you and us.
Yeah.
Because, you would use different terms, you would have different terms for stakeholders and for the voting process as we did. And in the end, we found a very good joint way on how to set up your voting process.
Yeah, I agree.
So I love that advice. Do a lot of homework basically before you start the tender process. After all, do a lot of homework.
Talk to the colleagues around you that have done it before. Get all your documents sorted together and kind of try to enjoy it also, I would think.
We've talked a lot about the tender now. Obviously, I also want to talk a bit about NemoVote. Maybe you can just share some information on like why, in the end, why did you decide for NemoVote?
So there were, of course, a combination of reasons. I think first of all, when we got a bit of a first demo from you guys, it was like pretty clear that the kind of interface of the platform was super user friendly. So you have like all of the main compartments in the left, you know where you have to go to, kind of logical flow. Also, how the security features were explained to us. I think that was really like a deciding factor because you have the magic link, which offers security, but is also user friendly. So I think just being able to receive that link in the mailbox and just open it without any password or login was super helpful.
To explain that to the viewers, the magic link in NemoVote, it sends the credentials already packed in a link in a mail, such that if the voter clicks on that link, he or she will automatically be within his or her account and then vote and cast their ballot.
Which is great because you can only access the link if you can access your own mailbox. So it's safe that way. And then also when you then vote with your magic link, no one else can go on that link and then vote again. So it's secure in that way too. So yeah. And then there's also the kind of setup, and that's more from my view when you were showing how you set up the platform and get the voters in there and put in the right settings and everything. It was so easy. It was again like a logical flow. Yeah, of course, that's one of the things that I, as an administrator in NemoVote, was really looking for. So yeah.
We also have like a competitive analysis where we look into the competitors and see like where is NemoVote best. And one of the things we try to push most is the user friendliness and the user experience. So I appreciate a lot that you also mentioned that and that you also experienced that. So coming to my last point in this case, like I'm always asking the question, Isabel, what is your most beloved feature in NemoVote?
Okay, so I do have a few. I think one is probably one that lots of people might have said already. It's the feature where you use the Excel to add in all the voters and you can just copy paste it into NemoVote.
The voter upload. Yeah.
It's so great because you can basically, or we already had kind of Excels with all of the voters from before. So we just had to like kind of tweak it to put it in the right cells. And then we just copy paste and it's all in NemoVote. So that was great. Another favorite of mine is the comment on vote. So when the vote is closed and then the organizer of the vote can add a comment to it. For example, like this witness was present at the voting, or just any kind of comment that would be useful or relevant for the electoral office, for the administrators to read, I think is great because it's just an efficient way to add it in there and you can just download it in the PDF with the results. So I really love that feature, but just the organizer feature in a whole, because of course it was crucial for us to have that, but I think it's so easy to work with. Add an organizer to their assigned votes and to their assigned voter list, and they get to see only that vote. It's great. You can build in a whole third layer next to the administrator and the voter. So yeah, I think those are my favorite features.
Thanks for the help. Thanks for jointly developing that. And thanks for the great feedback regarding the user experience and the features, because I also like those features a lot.
And thank you guys for developing it for us and for NemoVote in general. I personally value that partnership a lot. I have a lot of fun working with you.
This one was the episode on how to set up a tender. I think that was actually some insights that you can't really find just yet. If you can't have a look into your organization, you might want to watch the video.
Yeah.
Because you learn a lot. Thank you, Isabel. Isabel de Cavel from COO Education of the Flemish Community. All right, Isabel, thank you for that. See you at the election in November at latest, probably also next week.
Thank you also. Thanks for the podcast, for the questions. It was super insightful also for me, and I've been enjoying the collaboration so much so far. So yeah, also looking forward to actually September when we start like organizing a little bit. November, definitely, when we see NemoVote in action. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Definitely. So subscribe, check out NemoVote.com, follow us on LinkedIn, and see you at your next election. Stay secure, stay democratic.